Hey everyone, welcome to another hot take. This one's going to be about the Biden and Bernie debate from Sunday. I didn't do one yesterday. I was not feeling it, so I stuck with trailers. So the Biden and Bernie debate, after a couple of days ruminating on it, I think really Biden won that debate pretty handily. And here's why. Biden, first off, didn't make any major gaffes. He made a few gaffes, but they were minor as compared to the ones he's been making for like most of the campaign trail. He didn't have one of those Biden moments where he said something totally crazy. Bernie looked good, I will say. The haircut really helped him. He doesn't have like crazy old man hair like he normally does, although he got a little frizzy, but mostly the haircut made him look actually a little tiny bit younger. Biden, however, for the first time in a while, he didn't look frail. He had his hand in his pocket, kind of standing there in a suit with his hand in his pocket like, So he stood his ground pretty well. Now, in the close-ups, Biden's like squinting a lot, especially in this eye. But for the most part, he looked good. He looked at least equal to Bernie in terms of energy and presentation, if not a little better, because he's not a communist. And he presented very much as a moderate as compared to Bernie. Bernie went after him pretty hard on a few issues, but, Biden kneecapped him, reminding everybody that he praised Cuba. And Bernie had to dig himself out of that hole, and he can't. He can't. How is Bernie, the biggest communist in America today, going to dig himself out of the hole where he praised Cuba? This is a guy who went to the Soviet Union and praised that. I mean, praising communist Cuba is nothing compared to praising Soviet Russia. So, it just reminded everybody what an incredible commie he is and how crazy he is, and how that, if you're a Democratic voter, and I was for many years, against Trump, I mean, my God, Trump would absolutely wipe the floor with Bernie. Bernie would be defending every positive thing he ever said about communist Cuba, communist Soviet Russia, Venezuela, all these places. And he can't. He can't unless he says, well, I didn't really mean it, and I hate communism, and I love America, and blah, blah, blah. He can't. He loves socialism. So that just reminded the Democratic audience of what a terrible candidate Bernie actually is. Even though he seems like Joan, as you know, hates communism. All right, Joan. The communists are gone. It's okay, Joan. I know. No, that's not Bernie Sanders. That's just somebody walking past the house. All right, be quiet. Joan, be quiet. Anyhow, so Biden was mostly on and mostly won the arguments, but it was two old men, 6 feet apart, by the way, and it didn't present well for the party, but, in terms of Biden, it was his least flubby debate. And he was much better, just him and Bernie, than he ever was in that giant stage. Bernie was the opposite. Bernie actually did better in the giant stage of people. Because on a giant stage with so many people, all the moderate voices were split amongst so many candidates. So people would come away from those debates saying, oh, my candidate did best. No, mine did. And meanwhile, Bernie is just killing it because he has that 20% of the Democratic Party that just loves socialism and is deluded to think that it can work. Mostly college kids. Those people, of course, rarely vote. And it's all right, Joan. The communists aren't coming. They're not allowed in the House. Ugh. So now that it's just him and Biden, people got to make a real decision here. Do you want an old communist go up against Trump, who will easily trounce him, or do you want a guy like Biden, where you might get a couple of crumbs of communism, but you probably won't? Oh, the big surprise of the night was Biden announcing that he's going to name a woman VP. And now there's all kinds of speculation who that's going to be. That seemed to be like a kind of an off-the-cuff moment for him. If it wasn't, then I guess he already has a VP in mind. His choices are either Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Hillary Clinton, or Tulsi Gabbard. Out of those, I would pick Tulsi Gabbard. I think she would be the best pick. I don't think that's going to happen, though, because Tulsi doesn't really bring much to the table, unfortunately, in terms of followers. She does check off the boxes. She's a woman of color, and she's younger. She would probably end up the president within a first term of Biden. So I think that would be the drawback of a Tulsi Gabbard VP. They wouldn't see her as, oh man, she's one heartbeat away from the presidency. Amy Klobuchar is probably the next best pick. She's young, the next youngest, and she seems to be the most moderate. She doesn't seem to be too crazy. People don't hate her. They kind of think she's a little odd, but they can kind of tolerate it. She's like somebody's cringy mom. Then you got Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren's pretty unlikable. She's got a lot of baggage, but she does have a hardcore following to bring to Biden. The question is, does he even need it in the general election? Probably not. Those women are going to fall in line. Next, you got Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. Both are almost equally awful. It would be hard for me to choose. I guess you could say Kamala Harris is slightly better than Hillary Clinton in terms of a VP pick, only because she's a woman of color, but she's so unlikable, and she would alienate so many of Biden's other supporters. I think she would be a terrible pick. And Hillary Clinton would just be, you might as well just pack it in, DNC. Just pack it in. Now, H.A. Goodman is still crowing that it's going to be Hillary Clinton as the president, and that this VP pick might be the key to that. Biden, picks her, they win the presidency, and then he steps aside after a couple of weeks because he's too demented. I mean, it makes sense. Think about it. Hillary wouldn't have to debate Trump. She has a good shot at beating Pence in a debate. And but the downside, of course, is Trump would absolutely destroy Biden in a debate. Let's be honest. Doggy. Okay, you done? Seriously, there are no communists. Come here. Come here. Yes, come here. Yes. Come here. Ugh, this dog doesn't know. Come here. Come here. Come here. I got a treat for you. Here, it's a treat. Treat. Come here. Treat. Here's a treat. I had to trick her. I feel bad. Yeah. That's a good doggy. Come here. Anyhow. So the Biden-Sanders debate was no great shakes. Not for the Democratic Party. And the end result is Biden won the primary, the recent primary, all 4 states. He was expected to win it. And, hold on. Come here. No, you can't bark. There are no communists outside. Sorry, everyone. Anyhow, there are no communists outside. Trust me. So Biden's win portends his next win, which is another primary. So many primaries. they're talking about delaying some of them. I think Maryland postponed their vote. At this point, can't people just mail it in? Can't they just count the votes via mail? I mean, that would make sense to me. People do mail in votes. They do it for expats or whatever. Just have everybody mail in the vote. And then, people unwrapping the vote can wear gloves and face masks. And I think, I think after a day, the viruses would be dead out of the envelope anyway. But you could wear gloves just to be safe and face masks, just in case there was any dust on them. And you could open them up and just count them by hand. It might take a little longer, but I think that would be shorter than postponing the vote and then, crying, "Oh God, Trump postponed the vote." You're not going to see Trump postpone the vote. No way. No way will he postpone it. First off, it's not to his advantage, and second off, people would scream bloody murder if he did so. The general election, we should be fine. By the time the end of the summer rolls around, everything is going to be back to normal, and I don't think there's going to be any hitch in the general election. Trump will be back to doing his sold-out rallies, and Biden will be back to be doing a rally with 14 people. If anything, this virus helps Biden in that respect. He can continue to go to town hall meetings with 10 people and say, well, we don't have too many people here. And Trump and Bernie, they can't do rallies. There'd be too many people there. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Again, we live in interesting times, and it's just, 2020 has just been a year of crazy. A year of crazy. What the heck is going to happen next? What is going to happen next? I can't predict it. I'm not Nostradamus. I think, though, Trump will be reelected. Unless something major happens. I mean, I read an article that an asteroid might hit the Earth, too. I mean, I could see it happening at this point. Asteroid hits the Earth, wipes out the rest of the population as coronavirus runs rampant. I mean, we could be looking at the end times, people. The end times! No, I'm not Alex Jones. But if the end times do happen, I'm going to get myself a suit of Mandalorian armor and make Joan, my little baby Yoda, put ears on her, and strap her in one of those pouch bags, right here, so I could do the two-gun thing as I go out onto the radioactive waste and shoot aliens and radioactive monsters and stuff like that. I mean, it'd be pretty badass. You got to admit that. It'd be pretty badass. So anyhow, if you're hunkering down for the virus, as well you should be, feel free to download my books off of Amazon. Wokistan, a novel, is a political satire. And of course, The Pineys, books 1, 2, and 3, comedy horror about a family that's been hunting Jersey devils in the woods of the South Jersey Pine Barrens for over 250 years. Book 4 is coming soon. And of course, absolutely free, the Webcomic Factory. We're celebrating 10 years of webcomics. We've got over 3,500 webcomics. We post every day. 3,500 webcomics. You read them for nothing. Today's strip is called In a Relationship. It's one of our longest running strips. It's about how horrible dating is and relationships and couples and whatnot. It's drawn by MC Carper. And he's been one of our most ardent artists, along with a few other guys who've been great. I just contacted everybody on the Webcomic Factory. Everyone seems to be doing fine. None of the artists are sick, to the best of my knowledge. I lose track of some of the artists over the years because we've had so many. And you could go and read the bios. We've had dozens of people who have come and go from the site. And in fact, the comic Digital Hobo, we do, we've had, I think, 10 artists at this point. I think we're on artist number 10, Varun Pathak. is the current artist. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But they're all over the world. I just got an email from Vig Starmax, who draws Tales of Pizza, and he's in the Philippines there, and he was telling me how things are going there with the virus. And but fortunately, most of the artists, they work at home, like me. So when I'm writing at home, they're drawing at home. So we have that going for us. Anyhow, everybody stay safe, and stop thinking about politics. It just gonna make you depressed. And we'll see you next time.